Joining us now is John Karalis, Boston Sports Journal. Appreciate you joining us today, John, because I don't know if you heard, the NBA is really a buzz right now, and it's not just because Jason Tatum hit a game winner against the Pelicans.
What? Did something happen? Did I miss something?
Yeah, you might want to check your Twitter.
Oh, yeah, we moved from weekends to afternoons. Yeah,
that's true, too.
Oh, that's big news. That's huge. Let's talk about that for 20 minutes.
Usually, Fitzy and Hart, we're talking to you on a Saturday afternoon some point. Now we're talking to you during the week, 2 to 6. Happy to have you aboard here. But I want us, before we get to the big picture of the NBA, let's jump over to the Celtics first. And so my guy Stiz, Stanley Bruno, our producer, and I have been kind of battling. He was really giddy about the Jason Tatum game winner against the Pelicans, and then Jason Tatum 35 points, big comeback. And I said, that's great. Now maybe he'll do it more consistently and against, good teams instead of, needing a game winner against the undermanned Pelicans. Where are you, I guess, in terms of your overall feel for this team right now? Are they picking up the pace? Are they building momentum? Are they digging out of whatever malaise they've been in for 2 months? Where are you?
Yeah, I think they are. I think one of the biggest things was the return of Kristaps Porzingis. I think a lot of things happened at the same time. Porzingis came back. They were, if I remember correctly, they were like 14-3 before Porzingis came back, and they were. Let's see. At this point, I think they're like 20, 21, 22, and 11 since then. And that's with the last few games as a winning streak. So it started getting rocky right around the time he got back. And it's been tough to reintegrate him, get him back into playing shape, NBA shape, get him back into a rhythm. I think that impacted a lot of guys. They also went cold at that right around that same time, and I think it was tough for them to get back on track. And honestly, one of the huge things was that they haven't really been playing consistent defense all season long. So there's the championship hangover, that malaise, that kind of thing. We did see that last night for sure. So I think a lot of those things kind of came together and made this recent run worse. Now I think Porzingis is back to his normal self, and you're starting to see the ancillary guys, Derek White, Drew Holiday, those guys are starting to play better, I think, because Porzingis is back to his normal rhythm and they can get back to playing their normal style of basketball. And that means the cold shooting isn't lasting as long, and they can turn on, like we saw last night, 15 minutes worth of effort to get a win. That looked like it was heading towards a pretty bad loss. So I think they are on the upswing at this point.
Before we go all true crime podcast and get into the Luka LA Mavs AD thing, John, I cited earlier Tatum talking about Mazzulla saying the stay ready crew or the get ready crew was going to come in, mop up for them, and then you'd have your starters sitting there on the bench on national television, embarrassed, wearing their sweats, like, how the hell did this team beat you by 30 points after you barely beat a 12-35 Pelican squad on Friday night? That would have been embarrassing. And Tatum says their manhood was challenged, and they responded. So what's it going to take for Joe Mazzulla to get these guys to play the kind of basketball they played when he challenged them without him having to challenge them? How can they maintain that motivation and that fire they showed over those 15 minutes?
Well, look, this is a tough spot here because we're in January, and I know that people listening, they're going to be, oh, this sounds like an excuse coming, but this is a tough spot for a team that knows they're going to be playing about 100 games. They're right around halfway done with their season. After the short term and all that stuff, it's hard. Porzingis said during that West Coast swing, I forget the exact quote, but he was like, we can't trick ourselves into thinking this is like the playoffs. Meanwhile, everybody that comes in is treating this like it's their own NBA finals. We saw Houston, we saw Sacramento, we saw these guys come in. They're really, really going nuts. And it is difficult for the Celtics to match that kind of intensity. They're not the first team in NBA history to do this. They're not the first team in Celtics history to do this, right? Larry Bird's team, people forget that Larry Bird's teams have also struggled and lost bad games and had 3 bad quarters and turned it on in the fourth. Like, those teams in the mid-'80s didn't just rampage through the league like Godzilla, like, so I want to keep perspective. Like, is it great to watch? No. Should they be better? Sure. Yeah, they should be beating the Pelicans. They should be beating the Sixers team a little bit more convincingly. But also, this happens in the NBA. The Celtics are not alone. This is not unique. All that matters now is if they get through it, get past it, and pile up these wins and stay within striking distance of the Cavs. If they finish the season with a 2 seed, so be it. They're on pace still to win about 60 games, which makes them an elite basketball team. So I am minimizing it a little bit because I don't see it as some sort of like indication that they can't win a championship. I just think this is what happens to good teams in January. And I hate to say it, we just have to kind of accept a little bit of it.
All right, John, what was your reaction to the trade? And you believe in NBA conspiracy theories?
My reaction to the trade was that it was fake. I didn't believe either of the Shams Charania tweets. I'm still in shock. I'm reading and listening, and every time I hear something, it's just a little bit more shocking to me. I don't believe in a conspiracy. I don't know what the conspiracy might be. I know it's probably people thinking like the Lakers are being gifted a superstar, but I think the Mavs front office made a stunning decision that they don't want to be in the Luka Doncic business, and they made a deal in secret. They value Anthony Davis very highly, and they went and they got him. And I think that's the simplest way to explain it.
That just flat out that they didn't believe that they could win with him, and that the issues that they would have with Luka would be too much to bear. Really?
They like every place I look, every person I talk to, everything I listen to, it's all the same messaging. The Mavs are not happy with Luka, how he, his lack of conditioning, his lack of, treating his body, seriously, taking it seriously, regardless of how good he is. The feeling in Dallas is that before his next contract, this big Supermax contract is over, he will have continued injury issues, like the calf strains and all that stuff, because he gets too heavy. His habits are not good. And by the end of it, they feel like sticking around with Luka for the long term would be detrimental to their team. And that's why they decided to move on. And Nico Harrison has a long-standing relationship with Anthony Davis and Rob Pelinka. So he went to the Lakers and said, let's do this deal. And that is it.
Okay, so if we were to just logically follow up with, if this became like a fair market offer where they let the league know one of the top 5 players, a perennial all-NBA guy, is up for sale, what do you really think they could have gotten as opposed to AD, someone I've never heard of, in a 2029 first?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know which players, because now that Luka is available, you start looking around the league and teams might be like, well, we weren't going to trade this guy, but if Luka's available, well, let's think about it, because he is still 25. And you can think like, hey, whatever motivation issues he's had in Dallas, maybe a trade will jar him. You give a 25-year-old a chance. I think if you'd gone through, and this is the biggest problem. This is where the malpractice comes in for the Dallas Mavericks. They didn't even canvass the league. From what I understand, they didn't want the outside noise. They didn't want the circus of Luka trade rumors. They didn't want all that stuff. But business is business, and you still have to conduct business the right way. even if you like Anthony Davis and you're settling on this deal, by opening it up to the league, you don't even know what other teams might say, right? You don't even know, like, would Boston say Jaylen Brown? No, probably not, but maybe, but who knows? Maybe. Would that be something that the Celtics would get into? Would I don't know, Charlotte trade LaMelo Ball? Who knows? Just, you can throw out big names, and at least somebody internally would have to have the discussion of what they would want to do and how they would offer, what kind of offer they would make. You have 29 other front offices, a bunch of very, very smart people, creative people who know how to manipulate this collective bargaining agreement. They would come up with something. You could probably get a 2, 3, 14 deal that would get the Mavericks players that they like, a bunch of draft picks, and a lot more than what they got. And the killer here is the reporting that the deal started out as something bigger, that was Anthony Davis and Dalton Connect, who's a rookie that they like in LA and who's had his, some big moments for LA this season, and is at least a promising young guy who can shoot, and 2 first-round picks, and the Lakers talked Dallas down. That's the crazy part. When you don't have competition bidding, yes, that's the killer. When you don't have other teams competing and offering and saying, no, we'll offer you all of this, you get into a situation where Rob Pelinka gets, manipulates the situation and says, and negotiates the deal down to, this is actually less than what the original deal was. It's mind-blowing. It is mind-blowing. The Mavs had better win a championship this year or next year, or else this goes down as one of the most mismanaged trades in NBA history.
So real quick before we let you go, John, you may have just answered it there, but I put up a poll today. Which of these 2 teams involved in this trade do Celtics fans think they are most likely to face in the finals? You think it's the Mavericks, but does this make the Lakers a better shot to make a run at the finals?
Oh, no, I think the Lakers win this deal by a mile. You got Kyrie and AD who are in their 30s. I don't think the Mavericks got any better necessarily. I think they're just about the same. The Lakers have a centerpiece for their future and a guy that it's easier to integrate, Luka, because he can manipulate the game and he controls the game, versus Anthony Davis, who needs the ball. You need to run plays and figure out how to get him the ball and how to space around him. Luka can just go in there, like he and LeBron can sit down and, chill over a bottle of wine and kind of 2 geniuses can get together and figure this out. And frankly, you're sending Luka to play with LeBron, who is maybe the most, not just physically gifted, but most dedicated to his body superstar that we've seen. I mean, that guy takes care of his body in like the most incredible way. He's never been injured, like seriously. Putting him just in the same room with LeBron so he can see what LeBron does, that could be enough to just inspire Luka to, okay, this is why LeBron is still this good at 40, and this is why the team that just traded me basically called me too fat to trust. So I think there's a real potential for the Lakers to have not just Luka, but a Luka who gets shocked into being a better athlete, a better version of a perennial first team All-NBA guy. I think that just makes the Lakers better. It eliminates a full rebuild, and it just makes them able to retool on the fly. So I just think they have the potential to retool and at least contend for longer than the Mavs do.
That's John Karalis, Boston Sports Journal. Appreciate you joining us this afternoon, and let's hope your optimism and Stiz's optimism about this little uptick of the Celtics is warranted. Thank you.
All right.